Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into an ancient text that isn't just, a historical document. It's really a masterclass in how to approach information, navigate differing viewpoints, and ultimately maybe find some clarity.
Absolutely. And our source material today, the Brahmajālasuttaṃ, or the discourse on the Brahmadatta, it's foundational. It lays out this incredible array of philosophical positions from its time. And then it offers this really profound lens to understand them all. It's quite remarkable.
So our mission today is to explore this intricate net of views. We want to uncover, well, why they were presented in such detail and what insights this ancient wisdom might offer us even now. Get ready to maybe reconsider how you process information, because this deep dive, I think it's packed with some timeless lessons.
Definitely.
So, okay, let's unpack this a bit. The text begins with a very human scene, really relatable. The Buddha is traveling with 500 bhikkhus, his monastic followers, between two ancient cities, Rajagaha and Nifenda.
hmm And right behind them, literally trailing them, are these two other wanderers, Suppiya and his disciple Brahmadatta.
And what's fascinating right off the bat is the contrast in their conversation.
Yeah, it's stark.
Mhm.
Suppiya is, well, he's loudly and consistently criticizing the Buddha, his teachings, the Dhamma, and the monastic community, the Sangha.
But his disciple, Brahmadatta, is doing the complete opposite, praising them, extensively.
They're having this very public, opposing debate right there behind the Buddha's group. It's quite a picture.
And the bhikkhus, they overhear this.
Of course.
And they start discussing among themselves how remarkable it is that the Buddha, with his profound awareness, must know all about these opinions being voiced right behind him.
Which, raises a crucial question, not just for historical figures, but for anyone dealing with human interaction, really. How do you react to praise or criticism like that?
Exactly. And the Buddha's response when he addresses this, it's incredibly insightful, even for us today.
It really is. He advises that if others speak ill of him, the Dhamma or the Sangha, one shouldn't feel anger or displeasure or resentment. Reacting with anger, he actually says, would be an obstacle to your own understanding.
Right. So it hinders you.
Precisely. Instead, the wise response is to calmly discern what's untrue and just refute it factually. State clearly, this is false, this is untrue, this isn't found among us.
And, just as importantly, the other side of the coin. If others praise him, or the Dhamma, or the Sangha.
Same principle. Don't feel joy, happiness, or elation. That kind of elation would also be an obstacle to your own clear understanding.
So you just acknowledge what's true.
Exactly. Acknowledge it factually. This is true, this is factual, this is with us, this is found among us. Simple as that.
Wow. So it's really not about emotional reaction at all, is it? It's about maintaining this, clear, discerning mind no matter what's coming at you externally.
That's the core of it. And it's such a powerful lesson right there at the very beginning of the text.
Absolutely. Okay, so then the Buddha goes on to explain that what he calls ordinary people, or puthujano, what they might praise him for,
Right, what they praise the Tathāgata for.
is based on what he describes as small, trifling, a matter of mere morality.
And then he outlines this incredibly detailed, rigorous set of ethical behaviors.
And it's remarkable how specific he gets here. This isn't just, be a good person in some vague way.
Not at all. He details the core ethical conduct abstaining from killing, stealing, unchastity. That's foundational.
But then he dives into speech ethics. No false speech, no divisive speech, no harsh speech. Instead, speak pleasant, agreeable words.
Timely words, factual, meaningful, disciplined words is very thorough.
And this standard of conduct, it extends into areas of daily life you might not even expect.
Oh, absolutely. He describes practices like abstaining from destroying seeds and plants, eating only once a day,
Right.
and even avoiding entertainment like dancing, singing, music, or shows.
And there's this emphasis on, profound simplicity. Avoiding worldly stuff like perfumes, fancy adornments, luxurious beds.
And crucially, not accepting gold and silver. That's a big one for renunciants.
And for those renunciants, the list gets even more radical, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Abstaining from accepting raw grain or meat, women or girls, male or female slaves,
Yeah.
various animals, goats, sheep, chickens, pigs, elephants, cattle, horses, mares, even land and property.
So it really covers everything. Livelihood, too.
Yes, ethical livelihood is key.
Ah.
No acting as a messenger, no buying and selling, no using false weights or measures, no bribery, deception, fraud, cheating, and definitely no violent acts like cutting, killing, binding, highway robbery, plunder, or violence. It's comprehensive.
And he keeps going, right, contrasting his practices with other ascetics.
Yes, he details how he refrains from practices common among other ascetics and Brahmins who accepted donations back then. Things like not storing large amounts of food, drink, clothes, vehicles, beds, ointments.
So really avoiding accumulation.
Exactly. Avoiding accumulation, avoiding all games of chance, avoiding what he calls low talk, frivolous discussions about kings, wars, food, relatives, gossip, basically. And also avoiding contentious debate just for the sake of arguing. Plus, no acting as a messenger for others, no deceit, no flattery, no hinting for gain. It's an incredibly disciplined ethical foundation.
It truly is.
Yeah.
But what's, kind of mind-blowing is that after laying out this huge list of deeply disciplined, pure conduct, the Buddha says this is all just minor, trifling morality.
Right. That's the kicker.
So if all that is just the surface level, what are the profound, difficult to see, difficult to understand, peaceful, refined, beyond the sphere of reasoning, subtle to be experienced by the wise qualities? What's a deeper praise?
That's the pivotal shift in the whole discourse. The Buddha explains that these deeper insights, they involve his profound knowledge of this vast array of speculative views held by other ascetics and Brahmins of his time. And crucially, his understanding that these views, no matter how complex or sophisticated they seem, are ultimately limited.
Okay, so we're moving from ethics to philosophy now. We're talking about these ancient arguments and theories about, like, the nature of the universe, the self, what happens after death, that sort of thing.
Exactly that. The text then lays out this comprehensive taxonomy, you can almost call it, of 62 such views. It categorizes them broadly into those concerning the past, called pubantakapika, and those concerning the future, aparantakapika. It's like an ancient map of human attempts to define reality.
62 views. Okay, let's start with the past ones, the pubantakapika. What were people trying to figure out about where everything came from? What kinds of views were there?
Well, a significant category we find are the eternalists. These were thinkers who believed that the self, or the world, or maybe both, are permanent and unchanging, eternal.
And how did they arrive at that conclusion?
Different ways. Some apparently reached it through deep meditative experiences where they recalled countless past lives, maybe even vast cycles of cosmic expansion and contraction, leading them to think, well, this consciousness, this must be eternal. Others simply arrived at it through, pure reasoning and logic.
Interesting. Okay, so eternalism, what else?
Then you have the partial eternalists. These folks believe some things are eternal, but other things aren't. A mix.
Like what?
For example, some thought a kind of primordial creator-like being, like the great Brahma, who appears first in a re-evolving world system, was eternal, while everything and everyone who came after was impermanent. Others, maybe drawing from experiences in higher, more refined realms of existence, might have observed beings who seemed to last longer, and mistakenly concluded that only those types were eternal, while others who maybe fell from those states due to, distraction or ill will, were not eternal.
So it's about trying to figure out what parts of existence last and what parts don't. What about the physical world itself? Was it seen as finite or infinite?
Yes, that was another set of views. There were 4 different finite and infinite worldviews. These explored whether the universe was spatially limited or unlimited, maybe limited in some directions, but infinite in others, or perhaps even beyond such simple definitions.
And again, based on meditation or reasoning?
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Rooted in specific meditative states or philosophical deduction.
Okay. And then there are the eel rattlers. You gotta love that name. What was their approach?
The eel rattlers, or equivocators, they represent a fascinating group. 4 views here. These were individuals who basically, when asked about tricky ethical or metaphysical questions, just refused to give a straight answer.
Why? Were they just being difficult?
Their reasons varied, according to the text. Some apparently feared speaking falsehood if they took a firm stance. Others worried about developing attachment or aversion to a particular view if they committed to it. Some feared being, cross-examined and maybe refuted by clever debaters if they put a position out there.
Ah, the fear of losing an argument.
Exactly. And some, the text suggests, were perhaps just genuinely ignorant or confused and simply couldn't answer definitively. So they'd offer these evasive, non-committal, slippery statements, hence eel wriggling.
Oh, like a philosophical avoidance tactic.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the last category for the past-focused views?
Lastly, for the past, we have the 2 views of the fortuitous originists.
Meaning things just happen by chance.
Pretty much. These are those who believe that the self and the world simply arose by chance without any specific cause or reason. spontaneously. One explanation for how someone might arrive at this view involves recalling a past life as a non-percipient deity who then regained perception and fell from that state, leading them to conclude existence just sort of happened by chance. The other variation suggests it just came from pure reasoning, looking at the world and deciding there's no discernible cause. And that rounds out the 18 views concerning the past.
Wow. It's just astonishing how many different ways people back then were trying to define reality and their place in it, just looking backward. Now, let's shift. The views concerning the future, the Aparantakappakai, a remarkable 44 types. What were the big questions here? What comes next?
Indeed, 44. These views largely revolved around beliefs about the self or consciousness after death. What happens? So you had 16 views that believed the self is somehow conscious after death, but within that there were variations.
Variations like?
Like regarding its form, is it material, immaterial, is it finite, infinite, and what's its state of experience? Is it happy, unhappy, a mix, or just neutral? Lots of permutations.
Okay, so 16 ways to be conscious after death. What about the opposite?
Right. Then, conversely, there were 8 views that believe the self exists but is unconscious after death. And again, similar variations regarding its form and its limits, finite or infinite, material or immaterial.
And for those who thought maybe it's more complex than just conscious or unconscious.
Precisely. There are another 8 views that posited the self exists in a state that is neither conscious nor unconscious after death. Again, with all those variations about form and limits, it gets quite subtle.
It sounds incredibly detailed. What about those who just thought, that's it, game over?
Yes, the annihilationists. There were 7 views grouped here. These thinkers believe the self is completely extinguished, annihilated after death. Poof, gone.
Just after the body breaks up.
Sometimes that was the idea, yes. Or, interestingly, some believed annihilation happened even after achieving higher states of meditative absorption. They still concluded that ultimately nothing remained.
So even reaching spiritual heights didn't necessarily mean continuity for them. Once you're gone, you're gone.
That seems to be the gist of those views.
Okay. One more category mentioned in the outline was about liberation in this life.
Yes. The final 5 views concern attaining supreme bliss or nirvana in this very life. And these weren't all the same either. They range from believing that the full enjoyment of the 5 senses was the ultimate bliss.
Really? Okay.
All the way to views that equated the highest liberation with attaining various stages of deep meditative absorption, the jhanas, with their associated experiences of intense pleasure, or rapture, or profound equanimity. That was seen as nirvana by some.
This is just an incredibly exhaustive catalog of human attempts to understand existence, past, present, future, 62 distinct philosophical positions. So what's the Buddha's final word on all of this? What's his overarching take on this whole net of views?
Well, this is where the really profound insight of the Sutta comes in. The Buddha states that all of these 62 views, it doesn't matter if they concern the past or the future. They are ultimately, he says, known, seen, and experienced by others who are ignorant.
Ignorant, even the really complex philosophical ones.
Yes. He identifies their common root. He says they are all born of craving, distress, and agitation. They spring from a place of underlying dissatisfaction and grasping.
And here's the critical point, right? He says all these views, no matter how intricate they seem.
Exactly. They all arise from what he calls contact, phassa, basically, our interaction with the world through our 6 senses, including the mind.
And their experience through
Feelings, Vedana. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feelings that arise from that contact.
So contact leads to feeling, and feeling leads to these views.
Feeling leads to the views and the clinging to them. This is the deep insight. He uses that powerful analogy of the fisherman.
Ah, the net.
Yes, the fine mesh net. Just as a skilled fisherman casts his net over a small pond and catches all the creatures in it, big or small, so too, all these 62 views are like beings caught within this inescapable net of contact and feeling. They might struggle and splash around, philosophize this way or that, but they remain ensnared. And he connects it directly to the chain of dependent origination, that core Buddhist teaching. Feelings, Vedana, lead to craving.
Tara. Wanting the pleasant, avoiding the unpleasant.
Right. Craving leads to clinging, upadana, holding on to views, identities, experiences. Clinging leads to becoming, bhava, the continuation of the process of existence. Becoming leads to birth, and birth inevitably leads to the whole mass of suffering, old age, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, all stemming back to that initial contact and the feeling it generates.
So the true liberation, the real deep dive beyond just adopting one of these 62 views.
It isn't about finding the right view within the net.
It's about understanding the whole process, the origin of feelings, their disappearance, the pleasure they seem to offer, the danger inherent in craving them, and the escape from them.
Precisely. It's about understanding that process so deeply that one is liberated without clinging to pleasant feelings, without being averse to unpleasant ones, and without clinging to any view whatsoever.
And that's what he achieved.
That's what he explains as his own attainment. His physical body remains for a time, like the other enlightened ones. But after its breakup, after his final passing, he won't be seen by gods or humans because he's no longer caught in that net of views, craving, and rebirth.
He uses that mango analogy, right?
Yes, the mango stalk. Once the main stalk connecting the mangoes to the tree is cut, all the mangoes attached to it fall away. They have no more connection. His existence, which was tied to craving and these limiting views, has been fully severed at the root, cut off.
That clarifies why his teachings are considered so profound, so different. It's not just another view in the net.
Exactly. It's showing the way out of the net entirely.
And Ananda, the Buddha's attendant, he's amazed by this discourse, isn't he? He asks for its name.
He is. And the Buddha suggests several possible names for this deep dive, highlighting different aspects of it. The net of advantage, Tathāgata, because understanding it brings great benefit. The net of Dhamma, Brahmajāla, because it reveals the nature of reality.
The Brahma net, Brahmajāla, the primary title, perhaps implying its supreme, all-encompassing nature.
Yes, and also the net of views, Tathāgata, for obvious reasons, and even the supreme battle victory, Anuttarastugamma Vijaya, implying the conquest over all speculative contention.
And the text ends with this really dramatic image.
Yes, the entire 10,000-fold world system trembling upon hearing this discourse, indicating the immense significance and power of these teachings.
What an incredible journey through such a complex but ultimately profoundly clarifying text.
It really is.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about how many of our own beliefs, our ideas, the arguments we have today, they might just be part of our own modern net of views.
Indeed. I think this deep dive really shows us that true understanding, maybe true wisdom, isn't just about collecting more information or even having the right opinions. It's more about understanding the very process by which we form those opinions, the feelings that drive them, and the clinging, the attachment that can so easily arise from them.
The Buddha wasn't offering, view number 63 to add to the collection.
No, he was offering a path to liberation from being caught by any view.
So after today's deep dive, maybe something to reflect on is, what patterns do you notice in your own thought processes, or perhaps in the debates and discussions you see happening out in the world, that just might, be caught in one of these ancient yet surprisingly relevant nets of views?